Hey, what's up? It's Seth from Unison. Welcome to part 3 out of 3 of this video series where I'm showing you how to make a professional quality tech house track. So if you haven't watched part 1 and 2, you're going to want to go back and watch those because in part 1 we covered the arrangement of the track, how everything was arranged. We went through all the different layers and how they're structured. In part 2, we went in depth and covered all the processing and how we mix the track. And now we're at the mastering stage. So we've left enough headroom. We've left around 6 dBs of headroom for the mastering stage. And we're ready to take this track from the mix to, commercially loud, ready to release and play on the radio, Spotify, all that stuff. So here we go. Let me show you first how it sounds like with and without the mastering chain. So this is with, and then I'm going to mute it, and you're going to notice it's going to get extremely quiet, weak, and basically this is putting the track on steroids. This is my signature mastering chain that I've developed over the last 4 years. Some of it was given to me by a mentor, and then over time I tweaked it and added a few more plugins. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff on here. So check this out. All right, so let's begin. I'm just gonna keep the loop on this drop here. I'll just play it from the build, so if you haven't heard this track, if you didn't go and watch the first 2 parts, you can know what we're working with here. All right, cool. So I'm gonna turn all these off. And then I'm gonna go through each plugin and the settings and explain what it does. And we'll go one by one until it's all mastered. So the first thing in the chain is this stereo imager. Now, the reason why I put this first is because I want all the very low end to be mono in the center from the entire track. I want that to be set first before I do all the heavier processing. So what I do with this is Ozone Imager. It's a multi-band stereo imager, so you can change the width of certain frequency bands individually. So this is the ideal imager for mastering. So what I do is I bring this band to around 74 Hertz. I found sounds the best, and I make it 100% mono. Put the width all the way down, and then, just to enhance the mix a little bit, I add a tiny bit of width to the high mids and the highs. Okay, so once that's done, we move on to the next step. Now, this is a beautiful compressor by Waves, the SSL comp. It really gives a nice analog sound to your track. And what I do is I actually push this really heavy because it really adds a lot of character. But for the threshold, I change it so that there's around 1.5 dBs gain reduction during the drop of the track. You don't want to compress too. Basically what this is doing is just gluing the elements together lightly. We're not going too hard with it. You don't want to over compress before your limiter. This is just to glue everything together before we add all the other stuff. So this is one of the biggest factors. Like if I mute and unmute this, you'll hear the difference. And yeah, for the makeup gain, I push it to 9. And this compressor is a little bit weird with its controls. It has some unorthodox things, but yeah, these are the settings. Now, the next thing we're gonna add is, I love this plugin. It's a tape machine, a virtual tape machine, and it just adds like warmth, power, and yeah, it just makes your track sound expensive. I really like it. And I put it on the default setting, and then I take off the noise, because normally it adds all this analog noise. You don't need it, it's too much. And I put this feedback down and the flux down, and I set these two so that it's not hitting 0, it's going to like -5 on this thing. Again, you don't want to push these things too hard, you just want it to add some character and enhance your mix. Okay, so the next thing is this compressor. Now, there's no real reason for having this in there. It was just part of the chain that my mentor gave me, and for some reason, just having it with these settings and the output set to 0.33 dBs makes the track sound better. So there's no reason for adding this other than it just works. You know, sometimes it's like that. There doesn't have to be a technical reason behind everything. You know, if it makes it sound better, then do it. So okay, so once that's set, we got this again, something from Waves, the SSL channel strip. Before I move on, let me explain something. Like, you know, you can try mastering your track with your in-DAW plugins, you know, like default Ableton or Logic or FL plugins, but you're really not going to get the same result as if you're using these third-party plugins that the companies spent years emulating these different consoles and designing these plugins. Like, that's their specialty. You're not going to get as good as a result with your in-house plugins if you're trying to achieve professional quality. So I'd highly recommend you get your hands on some of these plugins. They're all amazing. I recommend everything by Waves, FabFilter, and some other ones too, but mainly those two. Sound Toys for mixing for sure. So okay, let's continue. So this channel strip is basically here just to, there's a bit of boosting, but more or less it's on the default setting, and it's just there for adding character again. I just like my mixes to sound as expensive as possible, so I just put them through, you know, as much you know, warmth and analog enhancing processors as possible, while at the same time maintaining cleanliness and making sure everything is smooth. So now we get to the EQing stage. So for mastering, you want to do very fine-tune EQ. You don't want to boost or cut anything above around 2 dB. So and again, like these have taken me years to figure out these frequencies, and I use this exact same mastering chain for every track that I make, the exact same settings, except the only thing I adjust is the threshold here, to make sure that it's not over compressing. But this is pretty much it. So the first band cuts the low end that you can't even hear with your ears a little bit. This one cuts around 60, which is also very low. There's a bit, wow, all right. One sec, I forgot what it was at. I think it was like 0.3. Yeah, anyways, this was doing a small boost on this harmonic, which is a really nice one, and then these 3 bands just bring your mix more up front and add a little bit more presence. So the next thing after that is another EQ, the Renaissance EQ. So different EQs also have different characters. So if you're gonna EQ twice, you know, it's cool to use different EQs because it'll bring a different character to your mix or sound. Now this one cuts everything below human hearing. You know, you don't need these frequencies. And again, we have a small dip at the very low end, and then to add a bit of brightness to the mix, I do a high shelf 1.3 boost on the high end, and then cut off the very top so there's no harshness over there. This is the next thing. This is a plugin by Klanghelm called the SDRR. It's like a compressor / saturator, and it's really cool. It adds a beautiful sound. So I put it on this preset master, 70s master, and then I turn off the compression because we already did that. earlier, and then I kind of mess with this transient until I like the vibe that I'm getting, and then I put this drive like very subtly. So let's hear what we're at, and then I'll mute these plugins we just talked about and reactivate them so you can see the difference. So not as big as a difference as the SSL comp, but still a good amount of positive benefits from using these. Now the next thing is the sausage fattener. Now, yeah, a lot of people hate on this plugin, but putting it on the master channel near the end with the settings on default, like don't even put it on 0, and you know, it acts as a limiter, and it just adds that tiny bit of extra loudness that you need to be competitive with the top tracks out there. And it doesn't make anything dirty or mess anything up. So this is, you know, I put this second last, and here, let's see the difference. Yeah, it just makes stuff a little bit more compact. And finally, for the final push, we have this beautiful limiter. I put it on 2 dB gain, and for the style, I choose dynamic. It's my favorite one. I turn on the oversampling to 4. It makes a big difference. And I leave the attack, release, all this stuff the same. And this is what, yeah, again, it gives it that final push to be on the same loudness as the top tracks on the top labels. And that's really important. You don't want somebody to listen to a top track and then come to yours and they have to turn up their volume. Like, you want it to be on that level, and this is how you do it. So again, let me play this and then mute and unmute it. So that's the master, and that's the complete track. We've went through the arrangement, we mixed it, and I walked you through the master. So this track is ready to release, and you know, it's up there. It's professional quality, and these are the steps that you can take to also produce music at this level. You can use all the techniques that I talked about in the arrangement, the mixing, the processing, and then, yeah, with this this mastering chain. Actually, I have an announcement that yeah, today actually we just released the Tech House collection for Serum. So if you didn't watch part 1 and 2, all the sounds that I used in this track are the leads, the bass, and most of the effects are actually from this new collection for Serum that we just released. So for example, the bass, this laser, and this lead. So those are, yeah, all the main sounds in this track were from there, and those are only some of them. There's 100 presets that we made, and we studied and found the best tracks in the genre and recreated sounds from them until we had 100 pure gold sounds that yeah, super happy with. So here, let me deactivate the mastering chain. So how this relates is the first 100 people that pick up their copy of this sound bank, you'll also get this master chain. I'll put it in the download file until 100 copies are sold, and then I'll remove it, because this mastering chain is like super powerful. Like, I want people who are actually serious and take action to have access to it. So the first 100 people that go get their copy of the new pack, I'll put a link to this in the description below, so you can go get it with that link. Yeah, so the first 100 people will get this mastering chain. I'll put the Ableton effect rack, and then if you don't have Ableton, I'll take screenshots of all the plugins and their settings and the order they're in, and I'll put them in a folder so you could do it that way. So yeah, let me show you some of the sounds in here, some of the cool ones that I picked out. So this is a cool lead. Let me bring up the volume here. I turn off the mastering chain just in case it would take too much CPU. So that's one of them. Here's another one. So that one was inspired by Fisher. This one inspired by Billy Kenny. Super dope effect, like, and all of them come with macros, so you can mess around with them. Yeah, so you can start off with this and then really make it your own. And then we have this really smooth bass here. Actually, this is the tech keys, so check this out. Such a cool sound. And then over here we have this. This is also inspired by Fisher's, one of his tracks that is unreleased. It's it's a huge super saw. Check this out. So this is good, like when a drop hits, like you just put this to shock and then you take it out for a while. So yeah, there's a bunch of sounds like this. Again, it has macros. And we pick these macros strategically, like we make it the most useful things that you could use to adapt the sound. And then, yeah, this is the bass I was talking about. This is a smooth bass here. This one was inspired by most of the tracks on the Relief record label. Yeah, it's super, this is type of bass that a lot of tech house tracks these days are using that are at the top. So again, there's some macros here. So as you can see, you could just play around, add harmonics, add the drive if you feel it needs to be more rough. And yeah, so those are 6 of them. I just wanted to show you real quick. There's 100. There's I think around 30 something basses, around 10 keys, 30 something leads. There's a bunch of effects. These mix sounds are gold, and then some plucks as well. So you can listen to the full demo track on the page if you click the link. And again, the first 100 people that pick up their copy will get the mastering chain that we use to master this track inside the file. I'll include in there until 100 copies are sold. And yeah, so actually I'm gonna play the demo track. I'm gonna transition into that. I'm gonna play the demo track so you can listen to the full thing. And yeah, so if you like this series, make sure to leave a like and comment your favorite part, or if you have questions, or if you want me to go deeper on a certain topic, or if I missed anything, let me know. I'll read all the responses myself and reply. And yeah, I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this will help you, improve some areas of your music and take it more to a professional quality if that's something you're looking to do. So yeah, thanks for watching this series. I hope it was helpful. And yeah, go pick up your copy of the Tech House collection for Serum. It's out right now. I'm going to show you the demo track right now, so enjoy.